Yay. Okay. Welcome to our Monday night hangout. We're going to chat really quick about follow-up. And I'm going to share some real life examples of people that I've signed recently and what it looked like with my own follow-up. And then at the end, we're going to pull out our list of 5. So I told everyone, bring your list of 5 people to follow up with, because at the end, I've left some time for us to all just follow up together. I'm going to do a fun coffee giveaway for everyone who drops an example on the Diamond Bound thread of a follow-up you're sending, and you send 5 follow-ups. I love this quote at the bottom that says, consistency is more important than perfection. You can never send the wrong message to the right person. And consistency trumps intensity, consistency trumps perfection. It's just where it is at. That is where you're going to see the fruit over time in your business is just consistent. You don't have to work crazy hours. Sometimes we might, have certain goals and we might need to up it a little bit, double our activity depending on the month. But for the most part, that consistency of us throughout the weeks, months, years is where you're going to see the long-term effects in your business. And it's no different with follow-up. There's the quote that says, fortune is in the follow-up. And I've seen that happen over and over and over again. I love this. Oops, hang on. I love this chart on sales statistics. I think it's just really, really eye-opening to know that, how many times, I don't even know how many people I've let slip through the cracks because I failed in my follow-up. I failed in it. So don't feel like you can't get better at things or be successful. You can. But so many people, because we give up on them or we didn't keep track of them somehow in our IPA sheets. And so we forgot to follow up with them. A lot of times I have finally remembered to follow back up with someone and they've signed up with someone else because I didn't follow up. And so that was my fault. And that's not a fun feeling. But this really, look at these numbers. It says 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect. That is insane. 25% of salespeople make a second contact and then stop. 12% of people only make 3 contacts and then stop. Only 10% of salespeople make more than 3 contacts. 2% of sales are made on the first contact, which is super fun. Every now and then that happens. I invited someone to our event on Friday. She was actually the winner of my coffee giveaway. So that probably helped. I don't know, but she was the winner and I didn't invite her as soon as she won. I waited a couple days. And so on Friday, I invited her to the event and she said she had been watching and she was interested and she signed up the next day. And so if I had not reached out to her and, allowed those thoughts, because part of me was like, oh, she's just going to think I want to give her that coffee so she would sign up, or I just want to sell her something. We have those dumb thoughts and it holds us back a lot of times, which we're going to talk about that more in a sec. But if I had not, someone else would have, and she would have signed with them because she was ready. But it's very rare. And you're going to see in my next slides, we're going to see all the follow-ups I've made to sign up people, but 3% of sales are made on the second contact, 5% are made on the third, 10% are made on the fourth, and 80% are made on the 5th to 12th. And I actually think that number is more now. I think it's more of I would say it's more of 12 to 18. I think this is a little bit of an older chart. So let's just say 12 to 18. 80% of sales are made on the 12th to 18th contact, you guys. So do not follow up. That is our job. And so I'm going to show you a few examples of someone. I just signed her up in June. I was so excited for this because I worked really hard for her. This is someone who liked my post on Instagram. I'm not even friends with her on Facebook. And I was extra proud because I don't hardly sign up anyone from Instagram. And so I was like, oh my goodness, I got an Instagram person. But we connected on Instagram. I don't even know how, because people can just follow you or if you have a public account. I went through and looked to see who had liked my featuring post and saw that she had. And so I messaged her. And this is what you can see in the first reach out. You can see what I said, and then you can see what she said back. And then I messaged back, like, you just go through the combo flow, right? That's the process. But she messaged back one more time of like her phone number, because she was hardly on Instagram, she said, and like everything she was dealing with in her health. And then I barely heard back from her in 2 years. Wait, how many years? 2 years. You got almost 2 years, because let's see, back in, so June, you can see my last follow-up was, I say my last follow-up, but it was like the last follow-up ish to her signing up. I did still follow up after this, but it was like no responses basically for 2 years. So I hope that encourages you to not stop following up with people, even when they're not responding. She said she was interested. She gave me this whole list of things she was struggling with. And I knew these products could help her. And I heard back from her maybe once in 2 years, you guys. I almost gave up on her so many times. I can't even tell you how many times I went to follow up with her and I was like, what's the point? Like, she's not going to respond. But then I followed up anyway. You can see I followed up over 30 times from the first reach out to her signing. And if you do the math, that's more than one time a month. And so I don't want it to sound like I was like just bombarding her with messages. I wasn't. It was more of like when someone's super interested, like she was in the beginning, and she tells me her health goals, and then I'll start the convo flow and I don't hear back, I'll follow back up like the next day and be like, hey, I know life is busy. Like, just want to check in and see if you had a chance to see those stories. Which one did you relate to most, or whatever part the conversation was at. And then if I don't hear back from her, and then maybe a couple more days, I'll check back in. And at the end of the month, I'll check back in. So it's common to follow up more in that first like initial like conversation in that first month. And so I was counting those. Or if when I did hear back from her, like it was like a couple extra. And so it's totally okay to send a follow-up to a follow-up. And what I mean by that is like you follow up and then you don't hear back. So you can say, hey, I know life is busy. Like, your schedule's crazy, because she's a nurse. She works night shift. But I know you're going to love this. What did you think of that video I sent you? So you can follow up 2-3 times in the same month in a very non-salesy, non-pushy way. But over 30 times, you guys, like I said, I almost gave up. Well, I did like multiple times, but I still sent those follow-ups. And then in June, I was like, why not? Let's just send it to her. And she responded, and I was like, oh my soul, what happened? And so I sent her the samples. It was I sent her samples like the day before I left for convention. And while I was at convention, I followed back up and said, just to check in to see if she got her samples, and followed up multiple times. Like, I wasn't like this, like I followed up to see if she got her samples. Yes, I love them, I'm signing up. No, I followed up about her samples. I didn't hear back. I followed up again about her samples, and then I heard back. And, we talked about the taste, and then I sent her more stories because it had been so long since I heard from her, like 2 years. I restarted the convo flow of like, okay, like, what are your current health goals? Anything on this chart? I sent her the symptoms chart, sent her stories, and she signed up like the next day while I was on the plane home. And so that was so fun. But on the right side, you see, like, there's always the next step. Send, share, invite. Like, I shared stories with her in my follow-ups. I invited her to multiple events in my follow-ups. I offered her samples multiple times. She didn't respond. But this last time she did in June. I shared like sales with her. Like, there's always like, Black Friday or like New Year sales or whatever. And so I would share those sales with her. There's always something, and you just like repeat. And so if you look back, in the last time you followed up with someone was offering a sale, offer them a sample instead. Or if you already did that, then invite them to an event. If you already did that and it's been a while since you shared stories, go find them some stories that they can relate to if you've gotten that far of like their health goals, and share a story with them again. Or if they're in like the stories page, tag them in some stories. So those are all like different ways you can follow up. And then second example, friend number 2. Followed up with her over 25 times. So the first reach out, she actually reached out to me, and you can see like my first message back to her, because she wanted to know how it compared to Truvi. I have no idea what Truvi even is. And that's what I told her. I don't spend time like trying to convince people ours products are better, or trying to figure out what products they're talking about so that I can compare. I don't waste time with that. And that's what I tell them, I don't say it like that, but you can see in my message that I'll say, I honestly don't really know what that is, but I do know that Plexus XYZ, and I'll start the convo flow, because obviously if they're reaching out to me, they're not loving what they're taking. It's not working for them because they're wanting something to help them. Always revert back to the convo flow, the symptoms chart. Because when she first reached out to me, she talked about weight loss, but that was it. She didn't say anything else as far as like health struggles. And so I sent her the Traplex video, and then I asked her the question of like, anything on this chart that you relate to. And then the last few follow-ups. So, and it like very little, I didn't get like tons of, what's it called? Like back and forth conversation. Like I followed up with her a lot without like getting a response. I did send her some samples that she tried. Again, like I shared stories with her. I invited her to at least one event throughout the follow-ups, shared sales. And then this last time, so she won my post that I did, like the comment, like the happy summer post. And so one of my last few follow-ups was like messaging her and saying, congrats on winning. So, are you ready to give this a try? And then she responded, but then it was like some back and forth. As you can see, there's like 10 days or so between that like follow up and then the very last follow up where she actually did sign up. And so I kept like I knew she really wanted to try it based on like the last couple of conversations. So I followed up more often. And so then like she already knew there was a sale, because that's why she won the post. And so that last follow-up was like, last day for free shipping and free membership. I didn't even ask the question. Usually I'll ask the question, but with her, like just kind of with our conversations I just felt like that was a good follow-up. And it was, and she signed up. And so, short and sweet follow-ups have worked really well for me. So I like that one at the end, just like last day. Let's see. Then the third example, it's someone who I didn't have to follow up a ton, because we first started talking in March, this past March, and she signed up in April. So it was like about a month and a half of following up. And so not everyone's going to take 2 years. Not everyone's going to take 30 plus follow-ups, 50 follow-ups, whatever. And like I said, like I just signed up someone on Saturday who came to our event. I reached out to her on Friday for the first time about Plexus. She came to the event on Saturday and she signed up. I reached out to her on Friday, inviting her to the event. She came to the event on Friday, and then she signed up on Saturday. And so that was a super quick turnaround. And so you do like people, that happens, but don't miss out on the follow-up. I don't know even like Katie, how many times I followed up with Katie Ciccarelli, but she's a sapphire on my team. And like, what if I had not followed up with her? That would be really sad if she was not on my team. Okay. So this friend, because it was super, like there wasn't a ton of time, I actually never got around to inviting her to an event because it was only like a month and a half, but I did share stories with her. She goes to my church. So I gave her samples in like a cute water bottle. There's like these glass cups on Amazon. You can buy like a bulk box, and it only comes out to be like $3.50 or something for those cute glass cups that like this. It's exactly like this. It's so cute. And it comes with a glass straw and a lid. I just don't have the lid. It's like a wooden lid. So it's $3.50 if you get the whole big box. And so I had a new one of those. And so I stuck her samples in there with a cute little quote card and gave them to her at church to try the samples. So she could just taste it. And she loved the taste. And then the last two follow-ups, you can see I followed up, but then it was like she needed to wait a little bit. Brought the samples to church in between that time. And then, let's see, the last one was about the discount, because I had sent her a cart. She was ready. Then she didn't sign up. And then I was just like, hey, just another quick follow-up, like, hey, the discount ends today. And she signed up. And so, I want to chat just a little bit about what our thoughts are around follow-up, because that is a huge part of like whether we actually send the follow-up or don't. And you never know if that is the time that they're ready. I think very common ones are like, I don't like bugging people. If they were ready, they'd reach out. It's not going to matter to follow up again. I think that a lot. I don't know what to say. I hate following up. Um, and you can put, I would love to hear if you have one that's not on this chart, or if you relate to one on this chart, the negative ones, like drop in the comments. But it's important to notice that if your thoughts are what create, like, eventually your actions come from the thoughts you're thinking. And so if you're thinking, I don't like bugging people, and like, if they're ready, they'd reach out, then ultimately you're not going to do the follow-up that you should be doing. And so just replace it. This can be actually really, really fun, because then you feel excited and it empowers you to get into action, and that action is going to create the results you're wanting. And so things you can say, I know exactly what to say. Like, your brain wants to prove you right. Your brain wants to help you. And so if you're like, I don't know what to say, then your brain's going to help you find proof of that. And then you're really not going to know what to say. But if you practice, like, I know exactly what to say, then you're going to get better and better at it with practice. The more you do it, it's going to get so much easier to just know what to say in the next follow-up. Everything is figure outable. Selling is service because I'm helping meet a need they have. That's one of my personal faves. Following up is being a good steward of my business. So true, because they said they were interested. We're following up with them because they were interested, whether they reached out to you or you reached out to them and they said, yes, I'm struggling with XYZ. I would like to know more, or whatever. That's why you're following up. And if they haven't said no or signed up, then you are being a good steward of your business and of, like, helping meet their needs by following up. Another one is following up gives me more credibility because I'm treating this like a business. People really like that. And again, like, not everyone is going to join you, and you can't, like, if for people who get annoyed, it's every once in a blue moon, like, it very rarely happens, honestly, to me, where people get annoyed. Even if it does happen, they're just not meant to, it's not their time. It's okay. It means nothing about you. Like, they were having a bad day or whatever, who knows? But people like to know that you mean what you say. And if you're posting that Plexus is amazing, that's going to help, it's helped you, and you reached out to them and you're confident that it could help them with XYZ, you following up shows them that you're serious about it and that you mean what you say. And so it's giving you credibility. People are going to take you more seriously. Another one is, I keep following up until they say no or sign up. My boldness is attached to someone else's blessing. What if this is the follow-up that encourages them to get started? Because you never know when it's going to be the right time for them. And just remember, this is my favorite. Your boldness is attached to someone else's blessing. Whose life will you get to impact next because you consistently followed up? Like, I can't even, like, countless people that I've been able to help change things in their health because I was willing to stay consistent and follow up. And you really never know when your next business builder will come as a result of that. And so it's worth it to keep following up. All right. So now we're just going to do some follow-up together. We're just going to pull out our list of 5 people. If you had people come to the event, then that's a great list to go through. Here's a few tips on the right side of just some things that have helped me with following up. If you have someone that you followed up with a lot and like 0 responses, then I like to follow up a little differently by, like, making sure I comment on their post or reply to a stories, or you can even send them a non-Plexus follow-up. If it's been a lot of follow-ups of, like, just Plexus, and if you know them more, like if you're on more of like a personal level, a lot of people, I don't know them super well because we've only met online. But if you do know them better than, like, just, kind of like people online, you could send them a meme, a video, a song, if it reminds you of them. I've done that sometimes. Just like, people like to know that you're thinking about them. Tag them in the stories and supplements. Tag them in a stories on the stories and supplements page. That's another great way to follow up. If you're not seeing, like, responses to your messages, like, tag them, or you can even tag them in the message and say, hey, I just tagged you in a few things that reminded me of you because I know you're looking to see if this would help XYZ. Do you see those tags? Would love to hear what story was your favorite. If you reached out. Oh, if you reached out for, like, the first initial reach out, like brand new reach out, you message them about Plexus and you did not hear back, that's also a good person to follow up with, of like, hey, I know life is busy. Just was curious if you saw my last message. Would love to know if this is something you'd be open to learning more about. Something like that. And then, yeah, the back to school event. And so once you've sent your send 5 messages and then put an example on the Diamond Bound thread. And then I'm going to draw a winner for a coffee. And I'm going to put some examples of follow-ups that I sent today. But if you have questions, as always, feel free to ask. Okay, those are all examples that I sent today, mostly to people who came to the event. If you invited someone to the event and you never heard, like if you never sent them, they're like a brand new person. A lot of the people I invited were brand new people that I had never talked to. And so I sent them once they said yes, they wanted to come. And I shared this in the Diamond Bound thread, but just kind of a reminder, I sent them the symptoms chart to say, hey, is there anything on here that you relate to that, just ask them if they could relate to anything on the chart. Some people I heard back from, some I didn't, as far as like the symptoms. So if you did not send the symptoms chart yet to anyone who came to your event, that's another good follow-up that you could send, would be like, because I know you probably already followed up. Like I already followed, like as soon as the event was over, I followed up with everyone. And then today I re-followed up with everyone. So if you're like sending another follow-up, you could send that chart and say, hey, would love something like, would love to know it, and double check, because maybe they commented it on that post in the event page because it had that we put the symptoms chart in there. And so some people commented, so make sure, because maybe they already did, which is another way to follow up, because then if you see that they commented, you could say, hey, I saw you commented that you related to XYZ. I just ran across some stories along those lines I wanted to share with you. One sec. And you can go screenshot some stories, send them over, ask which one they related to most. And you're just like reverting back to the combo flow. If you have no idea, they didn't engage, you didn't even see them in the event, even though they said they wanted to come to the event, you don't even know if they haven't, what they have, or, what they relate to, send them the symptoms chart and say, hey, I was curious, if you related to anything on this chart, or like, what would I say? I would say, what are you hoping? I was curious if you relate to anything on this chart, or something like that. Or what are you hoping Plexus could help with? Because they said that, they said yes to coming to the event, so they're interested, but then that can help start the conversation. So then that way you can go back to the combo flow, you can send them stories and like next steps of what to say in the conversation. Oh, I just realized Bonda couldn't hear. Oh. well, it's recorded. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end this so it's not super long, but finish your follow-ups, drop an example in the diamond bound thread so I know that you did your 5 and I'll draw a winner for coffee. And if you have questions about follow-up, you can ask in our thread. Thanks for hopping on, you all. Have a good night.